people sing and write songs about and make music about issues that are important to them. When we heard a lot of, when the Vietnam War started, it was actually supported by almost the entire country. It took a long time before the tide turned, and public opinion turned against it by the late 60s, and that was completely reflected in the music. You didn't hear any protest music, or very little protest music in the early 60s. In the mid 60s, some, and then it kind of morphed, as the war escalated, and people became angrier and angrier, and the anger grew into music. That was a whole upswell of arts into basically what was the national consciousness in terms of the politics, and having the country be behind a war, and all of a sudden it gradually turned. The music was, to me, a reflection of that. I don't think protest music got people against the war. I think it was the opposite, and I think it's the same now. I think if bands and hip hop artists are worried about global warming, they'd be writing songs about it. We don't hear it because I don't think they're as worried about it as a lot of other people are. We don't hear a lot out of hip hop about a lot of things that ail the communities. We hear the message is what the message is, to sell records.
Yes, I think it's a healthy skepticism to exercise, to think that maybe celebrities are first in the business of making a lot of money and generating a lot of money, which in and of itself is not a bad thing. You can state that my first job is to make money, and make money to support my band and support my family and my crew and so on and so forth. I have grave responsibilities. I also have responsibilities as a citizen of the United States, as a citizen of the world, or what have you. So I don't think the two are incompatible, but it's just sometimes it just seems rather self-aggrandizing to have continual photo ops with certain kinds of photo ops with charitable organizations. But this is as old as the hills. Other celebrities do this quiet on the QT.
Well, there's nothing worse than somebody making a political statement because they think they should, and there's great examples of that in the 70s and the 80s where they're half-hearted and contrived.
But other people really are in the fight. They really do go to the mat for particular causes that they're behind, and that's not necessarily the biggest artists by any means.
My particular pet projects were always the West Memphis 3 and Farm Aid, and now it's Music Cares. So those are the ones that I sort of work towards.
I don't think politics and things are being taught in school, and people aren't just studying as much as it was in the olden days. And I'm pretty sure a lot of kids and teenagers and maybe young adults probably wouldn't know a lot about their politics or anything because it's just not being taught. A lot of things are just being taken away, or so it seems, or being put away for whatever number of reasons they choose to. So until they decide to open up more information, we're just going to be left in the dark.
I think the reason you see a lot of what would be called protest or message music happening at certain times is a reflection of the time.
The arts have always been important in social change. Before there were amplifiers and guitars, people subtly protested their governments or injustices through plays and Shakespearean times, through folk music before that.
Whether it's unfortunate or fortunate, I wish there was more message in the music. I wish the music, held deeper meaning. I have children. I would like them to think deeply about world events and things that are important.
The thing is that public opinion hasn't changed all that much. What's changed is the relationship between public opinion and music. Now, instead of one united mass, there are protesters and there are musicians, and everyone else just cheers or boos them. The connection is broken.
Back then, we had limited things to complain about. Right now, people grow up with a global consciousness. We know about the environment. We know about the honeybees. We know about, all the crazy things the American government is doing with drones. There are so many things we could be protesting. It's
a surveillance thing.
Yeah. So back then, I had a draft number, and everybody didn't want to go fight in Vietnam.
Right.
It's a dumb old man. You could write a song about that. That was a simple story. You can't write a simple song about
the NSA.
Or the fact that there aren't any bees anymore. 1 out of 3 bites of food you take is relying on pollination, and the bees are gone. That's it. So when are we going to get our pesticide act together? And how do you make a rap song about that? So.
Well, a lot of things in this country, in this world, is withered out. You know, everything is dwindling. I think it's, as a whole, not just music, but everything. People are not just standing up and believing in themselves and believing that they have the power to make change anymore. And until that changes, we're going to have situations like this. People, instead of standing up, they choose to sit down or look the other way and not wanting to face reality.